Right, guys.
Hiya.
Let's get the sounds in. Right, how do we change the screen? Right, there we go. Can everybody hear us? Yeah? Okay. All right.
Everyone's muted.
You guys are all muted. I think we're still waiting for a few whilst people are coming in. That's it. I'm just going to put you on big view. That's it. Cool. So with this, guys, feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in, ask questions. Hey, guys. That's it. There we go. More people are jumping on. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, evening, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, you're right.
Hi.
That's better. It's not all silent. There you go.
Yeah, someone else make some noise.
Yeah, so with this, as I said, feel free, unmute yourselves, jump in as you want. Feel free to keep your screen blank if you want. Entirely up to you guys. With this, Sam and I can sort of go through as much detail as you want about lesson plans. We can go through some practicalities of things, but we want to leave it fairly open for you guys because everybody's going to have different issues with what they're doing. Are you on beer, Fiona? Was that a beer? Oh, good. Oh, nice. Is that alcohol free? All right. Oh, and we got wine. I had a cup of tea. I was behaving myself.
No, I'm good. It's alcohol free.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So we want to sort of leave quite a bit open to discussion as well, because everybody's going to have different issues. Obviously, there's some things that we can't solve, like venue hire, like stuff like that, but we can give you some help on stuff that we've looked at. And we can sort of go from there, really. I suppose the thing that we want to start with is most probably why we think it's really important that we all start running our judo classes again, even though it is quite difficult. We all know, well, I think we all know that judo's a really good sport for kids. Okay, it's a really good sport for adults. The involvement in it is really important, and it does seem to have affected us more so than a lot of other sports, especially with such strict guidelines that we've got. We're not competing against judo at the moment. We're competing against football, rugby, swimming, everything else, and those kids will be going to those sports if they can't get into their judo clubs. Okay, and this is something that we started attacking fairly early on, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we basically, from the first week of lockdown, we moved all our classes on Zoom. So we've done 7 months of Zoom, plus the outdoor classes, and now the social distance indoors.
Yeah.
And we've made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes, which hopefully tonight will sort of help you guys on what not to do as much as what to do. And quite early on, I started getting a little bit panicked thinking about how am I going to run sessions? How am I going to keep it going? What's going to be useful to everybody involved? And there was a few key things that both Sam and I we really wanted to make sure that all our classes, they were still purposeful. They weren't just running about, messing around on the mat. They still learned some judo. They were active. It was engaging for the kids. It was enjoyable, and also enjoyable for me running the sessions as well. So the techniques that we used sort of developed from that. Have any of you started running any socially distanced classes yet, or online, or anything else?
Yeah, just off this week.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go on. Who was that? You just said, go on, Craig.
Just off this week, it's just mainly been a lot of Uchikami using the kimonos and doing fitness from there. Trying to teach them how to put the basics on the ground using some of the BJJ ground stuff they've been doing.
Yeah. Okay. And so go on. Sorry. Go on, Gareth.
So I've been doing just socially distanced outdoor stuff. So we've been doing Uchikomi on the fence, bringing their own belts and tying them up to the fence so they can use and turn in on. Basic judo movements, so stepping and for the coaches, the osotos, etc. And then the circuit training, at the end, so like 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. We've stuck at that. We can't really see ourselves getting back onto full-time judo yet until it gets really closer to like full contact again. Hopefully, once there's a vaccine for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Dave, what were you going to say? Sorry, bud.
Yeah, I opened my club end of August. We spent all of lockdown spending our grants that we managed to get. We put in air conditioning, LED lighting, new mats, totally revamped the whole place. Our first night back was really bizarre because what we just had was 2 families of 3. So we could actually do randori that night because they're in a bubble. They've got their 9x3 mat area each for each group. So that was a bit of a weird start because it wasn't what I was expecting to do. You know, I'd got all my drills in my head, and then I thought, well, we can just crack on. But to set the scene, I didn't actually let them do randori. I let them do throws, and I didn't want them because I knew that was a bit of a unique situation. I knew these 2 families aren't regulars, and I knew they wouldn't. Once the other groups are in judo, it wouldn't be. I don't think it's right to have one group doing randori and throwing, whereas the others can't even grab hold of each other. So I wanted to sort of set a standard. But my thoughts when I was going back to judo was it's going to be in judo trousers and t-shirts because it's all about sanitization. It's all about having your 3x3 mat area, putting your stuff in your 3x3 area, staying in there, and at the end of the session, basically getting out of the club and going home. I got loads of lesson plans because I found lesson plans are more important now because in the old days, you could have like 20 lesson plans in your head. Whoever turns up for judo, your then lesson plan would be according to that particular group. I'm talking about adults because with kids and with sort of classes that you may have, you know exactly who's coming every week, but with adults, every class is different. So I found I needed to get some better plans in place. And we did the old Ichikomi bands and all that. But what I was really worried about is I didn't want it to be a judo aerobics type thing where you just turn up and have a bit of music on, do some Patrick Root type style patterns that we did back in the day. So then when I actually started the judo, everything changed because we made everyone wear judo suits, and that changed the vibe tremendously. You know, there was a different vibe to the first night where we had half and half. So everyone wore judo suits. That was a real plus. The one thing that happened to me, I don't know how everyone else has been getting on, I really got sucked into the process of athlete indemnity, checking temperature, explaining to everyone how judo was going to be for the next how many months or weeks. Because at first I thought it was weeks. Now I think it's months. But I did think, oh, this is what's going to happen this week and maybe next week. And then phase 2 will kick in and we'll be able to sort of crack on with contact judo. Because once we can get into phase 2, we know all the drills. You know, there's so many drills out there without doing randori. So I was sort of just getting ready to launch, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So we're doing HIIT training, things like 6 minutes of 45 seconds on, 15 off, koichis, oichis, all those sort of techniques.
Is that what most people are thinking about doing, sort of HIIT training and stuff? Right, you know, actual.
I don't honestly know. I don't know what the national sort of opinion is at the moment. There's the coaches I know are, because I've been sort of encouraging them to do it. I've got professional HIIT tapes. You know, the ones where you get the music and you get a professional guy going 20 seconds to go, last 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, then you get your rest. So I literally just put on the music and the lesson just carries on. But the thing with that, we're progressing, everyone's got fitter, and the classes are really good. But it relies on people knowing their judo, because I say Kouchi, Diashi, and they just get on with it. So very little judo instruction, if any. So I couldn't teach any judo, and I still don't know how I'm going to teach judo.
I think that's most probably where I think we can come in to sort of try and offer some help. So when we first started, we were doing exactly that. We were doing some HIIT training and stuff. And very quickly we decided that actually we didn't want to continue, because if it was going to go on for 6 months, whatever, it's going to be difficult. But not only that, a lot of our membership base is young kids, isn't it? So it's a lot younger. So we can't just teach, just the HIIT stuff. So there's a few things that we started doing straight away. So the first thing we done was we taught the kids how to make a judo dummy. Okay, so we taught them exactly how to make one using a judo onesie. There's loads of examples online. You can make, 1,001 different designs. But what we can do is we can send you a link that will show you how to quickly make one, and you can send to your members. That's really good for the younger ones. Some of the older ones will start feeling a bit self-conscious. So what we advise for them is just bringing their judo jackets. We let the kids rock up in shorts, t-shirt, whatever they wanted to train in, whatever they felt comfortable, because I think the biggest key is starting to get that friction away from feeling self-conscious, a little bit different. So we just wanted kids in their judo t-shirts, in shorts, but bring a judo dummy or a judo jacket that they can train with. So I think that's the first thing that we done really well, is we got everybody to get some sort of partner, and you can use towels. It's really cost efficient to make it. And once you've got this judo dummy, actually there's lots of options that open up to you in regards to teaching, because we knew we couldn't just say do an oichigari, do a koichigari, do this hold down. So that's where we started all of our work from. And what we found is actually there is still quite a lot of judo that can be taught. So I think we've taught over 100 lessons online now, with a mixture of standing, newaza, some fitness classes, a complete mixture of everything. And once you've got that, it really takes some of the pain out of it. So using a judo dummy will really, really help. So for example, if you want to practice your hold downs, your throws, anything like that, they can do that, no problem. It doesn't matter if the judo dummy's in a kit or in a onesie, it makes no difference, okay? So that's the first thing. I would get something that they can actually train with. They can rock up, bring it with them, and then take it home. Don't try and offer to make them one, because obviously then you're in risk of your COVID secure stuff, okay? But then the next thing is actually we really wanted to make it interactive, didn't we? So we sort of started thinking, well, why do the kids come to judo? And I think one of the biggest things that we got in our head is, well, judo is doing randori, judo is throwing, judo is this. Well, yeah, it is that to us, because we've done it for 20, 30 years. You know, a lot of these kids have just started, and a lot of them, if you think about when we started judo, it was more about building the friendships, the relationships, speaking to you as a coach. You know, if you think back to your first coach, you most probably have quite a lot of fond memories of how they introduced you to the sport, how they took you to trips. And that's such a big part of what they need. And that's such a big part of why they come to judo. So at the beginning of the session, we'll always start with, how is everybody? So when it was online, we would acknowledge every single person online. And I think we'll reference online because we don't know what's going to happen. We might have to go back into lockdown, so we might have to switch back online again. So just acknowledging everybody on the screen was such a big thing to start off with. All the kids felt like you noticed that they were there. You were there to, you know, to spot what they were doing, saying hello.
Yeah, don't underestimate how much the kids look up to us as judo coaches, and the parents. We found, like, during lockdown, actually the parents are looking to us for support and for a little bit of hope, like, please tell me you guys are not going to give up. Like, we need to know this is going to get better. And so it's not just about what you're delivering on the mat. I mean, you guys know this. It's about reassuring everyone as well and saying, look, we will find a way around it, and we're making the most out of this situation. So, yeah. And
we went back to our judo moral code, the resilience, how we always tell the kids it's a can-do attitude, you know. So now we're starting to teach socially distanced classes. When all the kids arrive, the first question is, how is everybody all right? You all getting on okay? And even with the older ones, we're finding that works really well. Like some of them are telling me more about their school and stuff, just because they've got someone. And that's the way we start our sessions. Everybody's there, everybody's welcome. And you can guarantee when they go to their football practice, their coaches aren't doing those sorts of things, you know, making sure that they know that you're thinking about them and making sure they're
Mike,
okay.
can I say something? Mike?
Go on, Mike, sorry. No.
Sorry, just trying to figure out how to unmute it. Sorry. I don't know what the situation is. I'm actually based in Jersey, and I hope you can hear me anyway.
Yeah.
We're actually based in Jersey, and we've got a different sort of government system over here. So I don't know if this is something that could possibly be lobbied to the BJA, but we're permitted to do a primary school bubble. So it's under 12s that can do full contact training, which is a bit bizarre, because we actually had a number of juniors who turned 12 to 13 during the months of lockdown, and we've only just now been able to reintroduce judo for those kids. So I don't know what the situation is actually over in the UK with the primary school scenario.
I think they've got it in Scotland, I think.
Scotland, they can't they? We're still limited as far as I'm aware. I know the BJ are working on that, and we can only respond as and when that's applicable to us. But yeah, so we're not quite that fortunate at the moment. So just going back to one thing as well, one of the club rules that we had before we even went into lockdown was we never let siblings go together. Okay, so it was just the rules. They can't go together. They'll argue, they're fighting. And that's still something that we've resisted, even going back now. And our main reason for that is because we've got so many kids that we've got to get through in a session, what we would find is basically it becomes disruptive because you've got a couple of parents that can work together and then a load of children who can't. And what generally happens then is the kids that can't are jealous of the ones that can, and the ones that can generally fight and argue and mess around, and they're not paying in. So one of the things that we actually do is just keep it all separate until everybody can train with a partner. We just keep it divided, unless, for example, you had, like you did, Dave, where you could do both your groups, they can all train together. But we've actually got to
totally agree. The only time we do the siblings is we have, like, we call it a siblings class. So because otherwise you are going to get that, you know, why are they doing this and all that. So we have and on the clubs I'm supporting, they have 45 minutes, then a 20-minute break, and then their next 45 minutes. The first 45 is socially distanced individual players, and then they have a family class. And actually the first group don't even see the other group because they leave the building's decontaminated. Ex-military, sorry. The building is cleaned and sanitized before the next lot come in. So
one of the things actually that it's been a massive thing for our club that we've done online, and this will sort of depend when the rules and how many people you can fit into your building, but it's actually the parent and child stuff's worked really well. That's brought a lot of the parents involved. The kids have sort of realised how strong they can be with the judo principles. But that will be dependent on your venues and you know, how many people you can fit in. You're still going to be limited on numbers depending on individual circumstances.
We've actually chosen just to do 30-minute classes as well. As well, quite a lot of the people we teach are younger children anyway, but we just found that actually 30 minutes you can get through quite a bit because they're not moving around the mat, so you're not spending time like herding kids back to the line or trying to get them to concentrate on, you know, the next task. They're in their mat area, there's nowhere to go, so they kind of have to concentrate a little bit. Obviously they still like to try and mess around with their judo teddies and whatever else, but you actually can get through a fair amount, and I think it's quite intense for them actually being stuck in the middle of a little mat. So we've decided to go for 30 minutes, and also that then gives you the scope for cleaning in between classes. And obviously the longer you're in a room, they're in a room, I guess the higher the risk. Supposedly that, you know, with the air. That's an
extremely good point, Sam, because this is why I'm trying to encourage everyone I work with to get to judo and start coaching, because then you don't actually realise what you just said. You don't think you wouldn't plan that. But when you actually do it, and then suddenly you see, so you're getting on the mat and just getting on with it, is when you suddenly
It's
discover
amazing
all
how
those
much
sorts of
time you
things.
probably waste in a normal session
Yeah.
getting the kids moving around the mat,
Mm.
doing different stuff. So yeah, we found that actually 30 minutes, in some ways it does go fast, but in other ways you can whiz through some of your, you know, parts of the session quite quickly without realising.
Yeah.
The first thing I, the first time I'd done a Zoom session, for instance, I blagged it, to be honest. You know, I thought, let's see what it's about. Let's get involved. I think we all do at the start anyway. But yeah, I sort of, and it was amazing how quickly I ran out of things to teach them, because I thought, oh, this will take so-and-so amount of time to teach. Yeah. This will be so-and-so amount of time to do, and to let them have a little go at it and whatever else. And I was quite surprised at how quick I ran out of stuff in my brain of what to do. So quickly started, I've got a interval trainer app on my phone. It's not too expensive. I think it's only like about £2 a month, something like that. And I've set up, so I do the stretches first for 3 minutes, then it goes straight into the next bit, which is the judo-based uchikomi, if you like, judo-based movement. Then I'll do about 6 or so minutes of the actual lessons, where I've just planned a couple of things to do, and then straight into circuits. So it is important that you plan things, as I found out quite quick.
So that's exactly what we found at the beginning. The first month, I think, of doing it, I was rushing through things, getting through. And the best bit of advice I can give you is start talking to your members. So we quickly started bashing out surveys. What do you like about the class? What don't you like the classes? And one of the biggest things is I was moving too quickly. Because obviously in my head, I can do the movements, I can do the skills, I can get on with it. But the kids weren't understanding it. The parents weren't understanding it. So actually,
then they were losing concentration, weren't they? And
they were losing the concentration. So my 30-minute class actually was most probably about 2 hours for the kids. So instead of one class, I had 4 classes in 30 minutes. So I will follow a structure of, I will ask kids that make sure everybody's all right, bow them on, and then we'll start a little warm up. Okay, so it will be some movements on the spot. And at this point is my first point to really start getting some interaction from the group. So with some of the younger ones, I go, right, what animal exercise should we do now? And then one of them will get to pick it. Then the next person will get to pick it. And then invariably they'll start picking exercises that I can't do that well to laugh at me. But that starts to get the group engaged in the class. So once we've started going through our exercises to warm ourselves up, we then go, right, next part of the class, we'll stop that, let everybody have a quick drink, and then we'll start thinking about, I'll make a decision whether I want to do no-was or attach-was, or if I want to teach a principle, or I want to focus on words. Okay, so there's lots of things that I've started doing over lockdown, which I'd never have done in a class. You know, really focusing, like something silly, like letting the kids practice the words like Sonomama and Yoshi. I'd never go through that in class, but we're practicing hold downs now. So we go, with the younger ones, you'll show them whatever hold down you want on their dummy. With the old ones, they can pick. And you'll go, right, the dummy has to escape. Okay, so you have to avoid the dummy capturing your legs. So you get them moving around, then you'll say Sonomama, and they have to freeze on the spot. They can't move again until you say the right word. Okay, and just silly stuff like that starts to get them engaged, but now all of a sudden they're focusing on learning some of their judo words that we wouldn't normally do, or focusing on some of the principles that I'd most probably neglect because it takes a bit more time. But if they're working on their own, you have got that extra time. As you said, you're rushing through stuff, you're getting to the end of it, you can take your time on those things. And the judo dummies work really well, don't they, for hold downs, for throws.
Yeah, they are really good.
But also, what we started doing is having like little competitions with the kids, right? Who can remember 3 different hold downs? Who can remember 5? Who can remember the most hold downs? And then starting to get them to call how many they can remember, who can show their hold downs, who can remember as many different variations of hold down. You know what I mean? Just silly stuff like that, where that 30 minutes really starts to get eaten up. You know, all of a sudden where you're thinking, well, I've got through everything. Well, no, because now the time that would have been wasted from them going to get a drink or find a partner, now they're starting to think about what they're doing next. Are they going to be asked to show the next technique? Are they going to be the next person that needs to
Yeah, I was just going to follow on from the engagement thing. So as well as you engaging with the kids and getting them interacting with you, we've tried bringing interaction between the kids. So say for example, so you've got your mats set out in a line and you're pairing them up. Obviously they're staying on their own mat, but they're facing somebody else, and then they're setting the task for the other person. So whether it's so we do a game where there's 3 different activities. It might be a break for a rocket jump and a judo turn, numbered 1, 2, 3, and then they're telling the person opposite them what they have to do. And so they're getting a chance to interact and socialise with each other, as well as just us telling them what to do. Because obviously normally in judo class they get a chance to have a little chat with their mates and move around, and so just trying to make sure that it's not all you stood there timing and saying do this, do that, like trying to get that social element into the class as well, which isn't easy. But
also as well, like when you're thinking about why do the parents bring their children to judo, to improve their confidence, to improve their communication, like all of these skills will come through, and it's another reason why they'll be coming to your judo class and not to the football class or to the rugby class, or all these tiny little things that you allowed into your sessions that will positive engagement. They'll be up for coming back, and there's not going to be the same. The other clubs can be a little bit lazy again because they can just do what they were always doing, if that makes sense. Sorry, Mike, go on, you put your hand up. Is that from before?
Sorry, actually that's from before. Yeah, I forgot to take it down. But actually, while I've got you, I've been quite intrigued by what's been said. As I said before, we've got our junior bubble sort of thing for the under 12s and whatnot. But I think Dave mentioned something about the seniors and whatnot. We're looking now that we're able to go back indoors, which is basically the BGA phase 1, where we can do indoor training with the spatial awareness and all the rest of it. So I was quite intrigued by the same household thing, where you got, say, 3 or 4 people from separate households. They have to train alone. Then you get 1 or 2 pairs who can train together because they're from the same house, and that jealousy sort of thing comes in. So yeah, that's actually opened my eyes a little bit, because we can actually have, with the space that we've got, we're allowed 5 seniors on a mat. And if they're from the same household, obviously that can double up to 10 potentially. But if we've got 2 pairs from the same household and 3 individuals, you get that jealousy thing. And my main concern basically from there is that it actually deteriorates to everybody just going, it's trying to keep the control of the class while those 2 elements are there. So I think that also goes to the junior side of it as well, more so probably.
Yeah, I think so, because the kids won't fully understand.
Sam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, we started off in July back inside. August actually was our first month. So the sibling sessions, I'm in agreement with you guys actually. So we did sort of say, right, we'll allocate an area to obviously siblings, and then have the individuals in their own areas. But what we've found as the time's gone on, and the longer it's gone on for, the siblings, because they've been in lockdown together as well, is that the bickering is sort of gets more the longer you go on for, the longer you do it for. And we've actually started to now separate some of them, the siblings, so that they've actually got their own individual box next to each other still. But now we're sort of considering just, and actually we've been pretty much running the classes as, for the individuals, which they're in them, the majority anyway. But the siblings just didn't work out for us. I think really, if you can run a separate sibling session, then great. But I think, it's just difficult. It's just it's too much conflict.
That's the issue, isn't it? Like, they're the ones, because they're surrounded with each other all the time, they'll remember if somebody's stolen the PS2 remote controller. You know what I mean? They'll remember the things that have grated on them throughout the day, and you can't blame them for retaliating. They're related. Like, that's what you do as brothers and sisters. You let yourself out. So
Sam,
And
have
also,
you
sorry, Sam. Yeah, no, we just the other thing that I noticed was that say you've got really different sort of sizes between the two siblings. What we noticed is that the smaller ones, when we gave them the option, you can, you know, at this point where the rest of them were doing, say, mirror techniques with each other, we'd say to the siblings, right, you can now have a go at doing the throws if you're happy to do so. It was really the smallest sibling that would say, no, I don't want to. With their, so they didn't want to do it. They didn't, you know, they were happy to do the mirror stuff with each other.
Yeah.
But actually, the smaller one was like, well, I don't want my older brother or sister, you know, throwing me.
As well, like, some of them will be of the age where they will start becoming self-conscious, and they won't want to be something different from the rest of the group. So those are all things that we would normally manage in a class anyway. You know, we would always think about those things. So I think having some sort of standard or conformity, this is the rule. If it's a sibling session, it's a sibling session where they can work together. If not, it's just you are with everybody else, which we try to do.
Sam, I was going to ask, Sam, what come across any of the kids that have had basically a meltdown or you know, normally it's easy to manage a kid on the mat. You can put your arm around them, you can talk to them, maybe bring them off to the side. Like, we haven't had it yet, but we had the conversation. How are we going to deal with someone stuck out on their mat, upset, or not wanting to do it, throwing a strop?
Especially as you're not going to have parents in the building.
Yeah,
you know, too limited on numbers.
Come across that yet?
Not really. Injury wise, we had sort of one of the pairs of siblings. One of them ended up with sort of a bleeding nose. It's difficult to do, because really they're supposed to have their own first aid kit, so they're supposed to deal with their own injuries themselves. And from a coach's point of view, that was really difficult. I did end up sort of going over and sort of just passing tissues and stuff, which I'm not supposed to be doing. But also I signalled to his dad that was up in the gallery, can you come down and sort of, you know, take over with the sort of cleaning up. All of that is hard. But I think that's the biggest thing. The younger ones, obviously, they still struggle with their belts as well, and some of them just will spend and you're like, you know, you just want to help them. And when they go to leave, they've got so much gear. They've got a big rucksack full of stuff, their first aid kit, their water bottle, their sliders, everything. They've got all their gear, and they've got to walk, and there might only be 5 or 6, you know, the bag's nearly as big as them, and you just want to help them, and you just can't, and you
that's
can't,
actually,
and that's tough.
Yeah, that's a big reason why we didn't actually encourage them wearing their judo suits and their belts, because the amount of time you're going to have to spend on one, and you got to think, especially if you're going to be new to the socially distanced classes, you want as less friction as you can have. So if you're you know, when you step on a mat, you'll have a pattern of how you coach, what you generally do. You're almost going to have to learn that from the start again, because it is so different. So if you've got interruptions for belts, interruptions for water, like those different things, you want to reduce that as much as possible, and make sure you've got a couple of things in the back of your mind. I just call them fillers. So, like, for example, if I've got through too much, or I'm doing something, or I've lost track of what I'm doing, I'll fill the time with a game or a movement, and it will be a judo related. I'll always have something in the back of my mind, or maybe a couple of little props beside the mats that I know I can encourage those for a game later. So some cones or some belts, or something that I know if it's not going quite right, or I've been thrown off track, I'll always have something to give me a second to then bring myself back to, oh, this was my session, this was what I was doing. I find that something quite easy to do. I suppose the biggest bit of advice as well is, one of the things that we done was we just started writing down principles of judo, so stuff that we would do, like sugiyashi movements, balancing, strength exercises, just breaking it down to its cool things. Forget about techniques, think about your tai toshis, your ippons, you know, forget about everything. Break it down to the movements, the patterns. What do you need to have a good uchimata? Well, you need to be good at balancing, good kazushi, good turn, and actually break down the raw movements and use those as your sessions. with the high level guys, you can easily find some YouTube clips, email out your YouTube clips of this is what I want you to look at before the session. If you've got the ability to show it in your session, do that as well. And then start breaking down what's happened in that contest, you know, the gripping, the posture, the movement. This is how it all folds in. If you want to be able to do this technique, you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z to be able to perform it. If you can't do those things now, you're never going to be able to do that in a randori situation. So you can actually really strip things back to their raw fundamentals, and you have the license to do it now because we're all socially distanced. You know, you can't just do it. So that was one of the things we really tried doing, didn't we?
Well, you can't really focus on exactly where to put your feet, where to put your hands when you're doing it on judo teddy. So there's no point really. Yeah, we haven't been putting a massive emphasis on how they're performing the technique, as in the position they're in. It's been the work around getting to that point, hasn't it? And likewise, when we've been doing we give them the opportunity to really thrash the judo dummies and the judo teddies to get that physical element. And again, at that point, it's not, oh, your foot's not in the right place for a tai toshi. At that point, it's like, well, this is the closest we're going to get to throwing someone around. So just give it some welly and get a bit of energy out.
Yeah.
And not worrying too much about.
And I think it just comes back to what are your aims for that session? Well, we all know it's going to be difficult to develop somebody technically to be an Olympic champion in those sessions, okay? But what you are doing is you're teaching them the resilience, the can-do attitude, the overcome adversity. You're teaching them all the actual mental skills that they're going to need to one day maybe be an Olympic champion or a successful person. So don't completely write off all of those attributes that you're doing on that session, regardless of whether you think it's proper judo or not proper judo. You are doing proper judo because you're having to overcome those things. You are teaching the kids those lessons. Sorry, Gareth, go away.
No, I was just going to say about the foot placement. So one thing we've been doing is I've been getting them to, so if I want them to, I'll say to them, I want 2 parallel strips of tape on the floor that's obviously not going to damage the floor, so preferably masking tape. And we do something called changing tracks. So if you're turning in for, say, a Seanagi, your feet will start that way, you'll change tracks and you'll be facing the other way by the end of it.
Yeah.
So we find that's quite helpful. And I've also experimented a bit on my own yet, but I haven't taken it into the classes yet, with using like a clock face. So at first your feet would be facing 3 and 9. By the end of it, they might be facing like 2 and 8 or whatever, you know, if you just change that because it's actually balance.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Anything that you can make your life easier, so crosses on the floor, using belts, using tapes, using whatever you can as a visual aid that they can see you're doing and you can see what they're doing, just makes your life easier. And you've got to judge your classes and your levels. You know, with the younger ones, I won't be that bothered, but as they go up, it might be the fact that it's not going to, they actually need 5 minutes to really concentrate on this. You know, if they're continually doing, no, hang on a minute, that's not good enough. They know your expectations. So definitely agree. I mean, with this, we could go over lots of different options, but is there anything in particular that anybody really wants us to talk about? You know, so I don't want it to go on for all night. So yeah, I'd like another cup of tea in a minute, but if we can go over, if there's anything you guys want to talk about or ask, or so at the end of this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to record the screen so everybody's going to have access to that. What I'm also going to do is just give you like a little PDF of some ideas that you can take. I'm really bad. I don't necessarily write lesson plans. What I do is I just create structures of timings on a session. Lesson plans just kill me. I overthink it. I have to. So I've got some structural things there. What I'll also do is I'll make available 10 online classes that we've done that you can just go on. I'll put it into a playlist on YouTube, and you'll just be able to have a look and pinch ideas from that as well. But the idea is that this lot that we'll send you through will give you the ability to create your own stuff. It's not do this now, do that now, do this now, because you're all judo coaches. You can do that. It's just to spur your you know, your ideas more than anything else. So yes, is there anything anybody wants to go over, ask, questions before we finish?
Excuse me, Vince.
Please.
Like Mike, I'm not in England, I'm actually in Scotland, so I'm under Scottish rules. So our under 12s and under 11s, they can be on the mat as long as we've got 20 on the mat and a coach, we're okay. The socially distant aspect for me, the problem I face is that my venues are too small. And so currently it would be socially distancing outside. And you can imagine what it's like in Scotland with the weather. So you might aim to do a class one evening and just have to cancel it flat out because it's torrential rain. But the Zoom classes have been a benefit in our area. Something that you might want to try towards the end of a Zoom class to keep your kids engaged is what we play as a treasure hunt, and teaching them Japanese words as well, so that they have to find, say, something beginning with the letter of the Japanese for a mat, the first letter of, so that they go hunting for something for a T, run away, come back. So it gives them a wee game at the end to play, plus it teaches them, as you say, a little bit of the Japanese and keeps that engagement with the parents as well, because the parents can watch them running about and give them an idea of the Japanese as well. But socially distanced, with a laugh with one person up here who said that they couldn't do it. And I'm going, why? Well, I can't get 2 meters away from my television. So yes, you can have a laugh with that one. So, but it was just interesting to join you and see what it's like for how you face in England, because I've joined some of the, obviously sat in some of the English seminars as well. Because obviously there's no, it'd be great if it was uniform across the country, then we'd be all on the same playing field, shall we say. But it's difficult, but what you're doing is really good, and sharing it with everybody. We've done the same in Scotland, and we've got a coaches cafe we have regularly for coaches that can drop in, drop out, and anybody's welcome to join, come in with their ideas, like yourself, which is excellent. So good on you.
Like Vince isn't on like some of the, well, a lot of the judo forums.
I try to avoid them.
It's just really getting, it's frustrating how negative I think a lot of people are being about judo. And yeah, it's nice that there are people that want to still make it work, and without a doubt it's hard for everybody. And if we can pull together a few people that have got a couple of ideas that we can share, like rather than, I just get sick of seeing, like, for example, the GB Underground stuff, like, oh, it's not judo, okay, right, well, just don't bother, get off the forum and just don't be involved in judo then. Like, what's the point? So if we can all come up with a couple of ideas, a couple of suggestions and answers, and find a way to make it work, because like Vince said, we're not competing within judo. This is about, is our sport going to be in any fit state in 6 months' time compared to other sports? So we've got to make it work. There's got to be a way for it to be valuable still. And
I think something that might be beneficial for everybody is just take a moment to write down all the good things about judo. You know, and I guarantee very small part of that is the randori. It is the social side. It's the coaches. It's the meeting like-minded people. It's, you know, it's all of those things that being a judo club is, or being a judo coach is. And you'll very quickly go, actually, the judo side's very small. And then as soon as you've done that, you'll start realizing all of the things that you can still teach from home, and I would always have online coaching as a backup, because we don't know what's going to happen. If you just get your kids on the mats and say, for example, end of October, they go, right, you're locked down for 2 months and you've just worked so hard to get your members back. If you go, right, straight away, since that, right, don't worry, guys, even if you've not done it before, we're going to do Zoom. There's going to be no difference from our socially distanced classes to what we're going to do on Zoom. What we do is we run a laptop, but we also connect it to our TV so we can actually see everybody. and then you can look at your screen, you can still give the same interactions, the same way as you're going to do on your socially distanced classes. You just use all of those skills and bring it online. And it's the parents will appreciate that so much more, because there's going to be so many clubs that go, football, all of that will just go, well, we can't run for 2 weeks. That's when they're going to start calling you going, well, are you guys doing something? You know, this week, in the last 2 days, I think we've had about 8 inquiries for socially distanced judo. And they're not bothered. They have no idea. We have an idea of what judo is. The kids, the new people, don't care. They just want to get on the mat and do something. Think how many martial art clubs there are that just throw their arms around or throw their legs around, and that's their sport. That's what they do. You know, we're offering them something similar at the moment that only gets better. You know, it will get better every single step of the way. So don't be afraid to say, don't be afraid to still believe in what you're doing, because it's going to be good, better than a lot of stuff.
If it does go to the point where we go back into lockdown, I would say if you've got your members back and they're paying, make sure they're still paying. Don't give them the chance to stop paying, because you're still offering something valuable to them. And, you know, we've all got bills to pay and we've got to keep our clubs running. Have the confidence to say, this is still really good, really valuable. Make them pay. You're not being out of order to them. You're offering them a service, a really valuable service.
Yeah, we didn't lower up. When we went into lockdown, we didn't lower our prices. We kept it exactly the same. But for what somebody could pay for 1 session a week, they had the opportunity to be part of at least 3 sessions a week, and all the additional judo information that we were sending out, the videos, the backup stuff, you know, so you can just add a bit more value. So don't worry about that side of it. Go on, Gareth, sorry.
That's all right. Daniel Pauls. Sorry, I was watching the telly. So we had one young lady who's about 10, I'm guessing 10 or 11. And she started judo 2 weeks before we had to pack the judo in. And ever since we started the Zoom session, she's been taking part in it. And the reason is I said to her, because her mum said, couldn't she join in? And I said, at the end of the day, if you can dance, which how many girls of that age cannot dance, if you can dance, you can do socially distanced judo. It's just where you put your feet and where you put your body. So, and she's taken to it really well. So it's surprising of how easy that will come into a young child's mind, and even going up from there, you know, into adults. If you show them the movement, 9 times out of 10, you might have to correct the left to the right or whatever, but they will get it eventually.
I think we were getting in our own ways at the beginning with coaching, like our own vision of what we should be doing. So I think you're right. The kids will have a different thing altogether. Go on, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, Vince, you hit a point there that my club has done, and that is we're actually preparing for lockdown. So which sounds a bit negative, but so we've changed our club to standing order. You know, it was money in the tin. So we've changed the standing order, which starts 1st of October. We've made sure we've got all our contact details, because, you know, our club was a little bit, you know, you just turn up, do your judo, go home. We didn't have that out of judo sort of contact. We did, because, you know, with me having access to all records of that, it was always easy to get hold of people. But we've now produced a lot better way of communicating with our WhatsApp groups and our Zoom and everything else. There's a contingency plan, because as you remember, when lockdown happened, you know, I was in a gym that night and I was just told, you know, can you leave within the next half hour, because we're shutting the gym. And the same thing happened to judo clubs. It happened to the BJA. The guys went home from work on, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday night, and couldn't come in the following day to carry on doing what they were doing. So we're ready to sort of hit the ground running with, you know, lockdown or whatever that lockdown is. And I don't know what it's like in the areas that are currently restricted, northwest, northeast, but I'm assuming their clubs are not operating. But you know, so it's just an opportunity to sort of not lose your members, and like you say, continue to provide a service. So yeah, spot on.
If you were doing cash and things like that, it's probably prime time to move everybody over to cashless, get the standing orders set up, or however you want to do it. But it's a bit more of a steady income, isn't it? And then yeah,
definitely, it was an opportunity.
Mike, have you?
I've got a question. I mean, this is Jagger. I run a club, recreational club in Wolverhampton. Just with regards to starting, we restarted last week as we had our first socially distanced class. Before that, I didn't do anything with regards to Zoom, etc. So a few tips on Zoom, just how to, get it going, what kind of subscription fees I can expect, etc. Something like that would be helpful for myself, because if it's going to full lockdown, I don't want to lose what I restarted, because it is a recreational club. A lot of kids come just to have that little bit of fun and go home. And I thought if I didn't restart, then I'd lose them few kids that come anyway. So I got it restarted, and the last thing I want to do is lose them. So just a few tips on Zoom, what I can expect in regards to charges, etc. That'd be good if you could do some.
Yeah. So initially we started doing Facebook Live. We didn't know how Zoom would work. We didn't know whether it would be a pain or not. But actually, Zoom was the best thing, and you can get a free account for like 40 minutes. So you can, and that's enough time.
Unless it's changed over lockdown. That was at the beginning.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So at the beginning, we were just literally, we set up a free account on Zoom. We were doing just that. There was we didn't pay for a premium account. We have done since, because we've done other bits and pieces, but just get the free account. We started off with just over Wi-Fi, no special equipment, just with a laptop. And each session, we sort of got a few more bits. We got a microphone for a computer. We connected an Ethernet cable to make sure the reliability was better. And that's what you remember. So we wanted the kids to be engaged. And if you've got glitchy internet, they can't quite hear you, all these things, they start switching off and then they start going away. So we just each time tried to make that slightly better. So in making sure the connection's good.
Making sure the kids, they can pin, so as the host they can pin you as the main screen. So otherwise, like this, when people talk, depending on what setting you've got it on, it might jump around the different faces, which obviously then the kids are looking at what the other kids in the class are doing. So if you make sure you say to them, well, we've got to pin me as the main person on the screen.
And a couple of really important things as well. What we then developed doing is we would then also record the class on our phone. So we'd have a stand for our phone. We wouldn't record like we're doing tonight, because what we don't want is all the kids seeing each other and it flashing around, because we put it on a different view because we want to see all the kids. So we filmed it as well. And then after the session, we would upload it to YouTube. And what you can do, because you might have parents say, well, you can't make that night on Zoom, we're busy, but don't worry, that's fine. I'll record it, I'll upload it to YouTube, and I'll send the link directly to your inbox. And you just put it as unlisted. If you've not got a YouTube account that allows you to do a 30-minute session, upload it in 2 parts. So 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And then what you'll do is go, every single member, whether they're on the session or not, go, great session last night. We covered X, Y, and Z. Here's your links to the classes if you want to go over it again, or if you missed it, here you go. And then that way, so now obviously we've got a stand for that, we've got a microphone for that. Our equipment got more elaborate, but it has been 6 months of online. So if you're looking at 2 weeks, I'd keep it really simple. Just make sure you film it. Make sure you put it on YouTube just so you can send, but also you can create content from that later. So you can then use that to advertise your club. Oh, look what we've done in lockdown. Look what we're doing now. You know, they're the easiest things that you can do, which will make a massive difference. And the parents will think that's amazing. The kids will think that's amazing, and they'll appreciate your effort as, you know, as a recreational club.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that.
And then
I'm very interested in that actually. So I'm going to try and. I've got a friend of mine who does it, who uploads it to YouTube as well, and I've got a YouTube channel. So that's something I'm going to actually look into now. Thank you.
Yeah, just put it as unlisted, so you keep your privacy. And what we will do is sometimes we'll make it available to everybody. Sometimes we'll just keep it to our members. If it comes down, you know, you can make those sorts of decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Mike, have you still got your hand up, or is that something?
He's had his hand up the whole time.
Sorry, no, I got interrupted. No, it's been a wonderful session that we've had this evening as well. So I appreciate all your time and your efforts. The BJA, I think, have done a decent job. I know I locked horns with Sam on this one over Facebook with the free grading where people were being charged for. But at the end of the day, I think that was quite a useful tool, which kept the engagement going.
We thought the gradings were great.
You've obviously got a bit of Sorry?
We thought the gradings were great, being able to do that remotely. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but...
Yeah, no, my main concern about that one was that people were charging for it, and I can understand the point of view where people have to run a business and so on, but I've been waiting that long. I completely forgot my point, to be honest.
I think everybody.
With the Zoom thing, yes, I do believe the Zoom thing is still free for 40 minutes. For a number of people, you can't exceed a particular limit of people to participate. Yeah. So yeah, by all means, people should get on that, do the bits and pieces. However, I find I'm a little bit self-conscious. I mean, Vince, you come off quite well on camera. Myself, however,
yeah,
I'm a little bit.
What I'd say there, Mike, is I don't watch anything I've ever done. So literally everything I film in one go. I literally just chuck it online and then ignore it from then on. So won't be, you're not the only one. You just have to get over yourself on that, to be honest. You just have to.
Yeah, I think it's more a confidence issue more than anything else. It's you don't want to watch yourself played back. You don't want to hear your own voice and so on and so forth. So.
I watch it on mute, to be honest, just if I need to do highlights. On mute. So yeah,
fair play. Yeah. Just basically, it's an opportunity to say thank you very much for this past hour, and open my eyes to a couple of bits and pieces. Yeah, and I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Is anybody, before we go, any questions before we finish? Just want to make sure. Is there anything you were hoping for that we've not covered? Or, as I said, we will. I'll put this online. I'll give you some like a downloadable PDF just for some ideas. I'm not saying it's going to take. It's not 10 session plans. It's ways of just creating some session plans. And then I'll give you 10 links to some online classes that we've done for some ideas as well. I think I've got all your emails just because you had to sign on, so I'll send it through to there. So you've got that, and then I'll just put it into a blog post or something as well. All right. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for coming on tonight. Do you want to say anything?
Not really. Just that it's nice that there's some people that actually want to teach socially distanced judo and aren't ready to just give up on it, to be fair. And yeah, if there's a way of we can keep sharing ideas. There are some positive posts out there on the judo forums and stuff. So yeah, I think we just all need to be confident that.
Yeah, and if you're not sure of anything or want to ask, just send a message. Like, yeah, the main thing for Sam and I is we know how good judo is, and we just want judo to be better than, we want people to be on the same level, pushing judo on as much as they can. So yeah, there's
a lot of martial arts out there that are making a very, very good living, and they've got crazy number of members, and there's no reason why judo shouldn't be doing the same. So yeah, I think we need to keep our eyes open what other martial arts are doing, and maybe not, be a bit more open-minded.
Yeah, cool. When I do post the stuff, if you can just share it online, that'll be appreciated as well, just so it gets reached out a little bit more. So anything that you can do like that would be great. Okay. Right. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. Have a good week. Enjoy your classes.
Thank you.
As well.
Good night.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
All the best for your new dojo.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Cheers.